What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski and I'm back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing about a brand new Sugo Fest exclusive character that will be arriving on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global very soon. Now, before we actually get into the video, I want to just preface this and say that we do not know the exact date this character is going to be releasing. However, since the maintenance, there have been a couple of things put into the game that do hint towards the fact, or basically confirm the fact, that this character will be the next Sugo Fest exclusive character to arrive on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global. If he is not the next Sugo Fest exclusive character to arrive, he will be definitely very soon. So make sure to keep your eyes peeled on the channel for whenever that news drops. I will be making a separate video for that so you guys know what to expect. But in this video, I wanted to break down this character because I know a lot of people have been waiting for this character because he is a very unique character in what he does, and I kind of want to break it down for you guys so you guys completely understand how he works. So without further ado, guys, if you guys do go on to enjoy the video, make sure to smack the like button down below, and let's get straight into the video. So I'd like to introduce you guys to the brand new Sugo Fest exclusive character, which is going to be Cyborg Franky, the Straw Hat secret weapon. Franky is going to be a quick shooter, free spirit type character, and at max level at level 99, he has 4,378 HP, 1,616 attack, and 138 recovery. In terms of his statistics, he has some of the best in the entire game. Extremely high health, being over 4,000, which in and of itself is crazy enough. His attack power is above 1,600 base, just at max level with no candies and no limit breaks. And he does have a limit break on release, meaning that his attack power does increase quite a lot as well. I believe when you max limit break and max candy him, his attack power, just base attack, is over 2,000. So he has some of the best statistics in the entire game, but they do balance it out with the fact that he has less recovery. But in terms of what he actually does, recovery doesn't really mean anything. So overall, statistically wise, he's fantastic. He's also got 55 cost like most other legend characters, and he has 5 socket spots, and you can socket him relatively easily from the permanent Fortnite Island of the Halloween Straw Hat. So this is great. If you do end up getting this character, you can socket him relatively easily. So now let's go ahead and talk about this brand new character's captain ability. So Franky's captain ability can seem a bit confusing at first because he actually has a captain action. So it is the next legend in line that finally has a captain action right after Sanji. So it's been a while since we've had a brand new captain action character on Global, but now we're finally getting a second one, and he's very interesting in the way it works. So I'll read his original captain ability out, I'll read his special captain action out, and then we'll go ahead into the game file of what actually is in the game right now that kind of gives you a little bit more information about this character. So his captain effect states that if every character in your crew is either a fighter, a slasher, a shooter, or a striker character, then you will get 3 times attack and 1.3 times health to all characters. So this does not mean, like Blackbeard, where you need exactly 1 fighter, 1 slasher, 1 shooter, and 1 striker. You do not need to have any of these specific classes fully on your crew. You can have a full team of fighters, you can have a full team of shooters, you can have maybe a fighter, slasher, and a shooter, but you don't want to bring a striker, so you don't have to bring a striker. But all of the characters in your crew have to have at least one of these specific classes. So if you can't run a unit on your crew that is like a driven free spirit or a cerebral free spirit, you can't run any of those characters. Every character that you put on Franky's crew when Franky is your captain must contain one of those 4 original classes, being fighter, slasher, shooter, or striker. So it's a very simplistic way at looking at it. Make sure every unit that you put on the team has one of those classes, and you're good to go. And on top of this, he has a captain action, as we've already mentioned. Now, his captain action will go ahead and state that when you activate it, you will become the General Franky, and all of your units on your crew are put inside of the General Franky. Now, after we go through this, we're going to go onto the game right now, and we'll go ahead and have a look at exactly what that looks like, because they've got a couple of screenshots in the game right now, so we can get a full glimpse of actually how it works. But once you're inside the General Franky, that is only active for 1 turn, and during that 1 turn that you've activated this captain action and you become the General Franky, you will go ahead and boost all characters' attack by 4 times instead. His normal captain ability is a 3 times multiplier. However, when you're inside the General Franky for that one turn, it is a 4 times attack multiplier to all units on your crew. On top of this, he will reduce damage taken for that one turn by 38%, and that does stack with your sockets that you have. Unfortunately, you can't run the double Franky and then use both captain actions in the same turn, which is a little bit of a shame because you get some pretty insane damage reduction with that, but this does stack with your sockets of damage reduction, so that's something good to note as well. This does also stack with other special abilities that you activate that can allow you to tank hits as well. So you can stack a couple of different effects up and get a lot of damage reduction when you activate his captain action. But on top of this as well, when you are in the General Franky, none of your crew members, or I believe your captains with that as well, can be blown away. So this can be used in some specific pieces of content, allowing you to get around that kind of little tricky debuff, which is quite nice. However, that's a very, very niche effect, and that doesn't really matter that often, but in some certain situations where that does happen, that is really, really nice to have, so you can completely avoid it. Alright, so now we're inside an actual run of this specific dungeon, the specific Rayleigh Island where he drops a specific soccer tome or whatever. So in this island, right, or this can be in any island, you can go ahead and click the menu button in the top left-hand side of the screen, and you'll see there's a button for Captain Action. If you click that, you can see the different Captain Actions for different characters on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global. And as you can see, you have the Sanji, which you already know how he works, we've already discussed how he actually works. However, they've added an additional one, which is going to be Legend Franky. So here we have the Legend Franky, and it does fully explain his captain action. So let's go ahead and go through all of these different effects, and then we'll finish off the video discussing his special ability. So it states here that if all 6 characters on your crew include fighter, slasher, strikers, and shooters, then you can unleash General Franky's captain action known as docking. You will not be able to perform any other tandem attacks or captain actions when you activate the docking ability. Moving on, after docking, General Franky's attack method will change depending on each character's class. If a character has multiple of the listed classes, Class 1 will determine the attack method. If the character only has the specific class in Class 2, then that will be the preferred attacking method. So this is something that I didn't talk about, but what we're going to be talking about here is the fact that when you actually become the General Franky, there are additional abilities that happen depending on which type of character that you use to attack with. So we're going to move on here. When you tap with a fighter character's attack, it will deal 1.25 times additional damage than the usual damage that it will deal to the target. So when you're attacking with a fighter unit, they gain 1.25 times attack. So ideally, if you want to be dealing the most damage, this is the most optimal way to do it, to run Franky captains with the fighter sub. So that's going to be working very, very well. Inflicted damage is dependent on the character's attack. So of course, it's all depending on how much attack Luffy has, of course. So, you know, different units will have different attacks. It's not based off Franky's attack. It's still based off the attacking character's specific unit. And as you can see here, you can see the picture of General Franky when you become the General Franky, and it looks absolutely awesome. So moving on, when you're tapping with a slasher character, what will happen, it will deal normal damage to the targeted enemy and partial damage to other enemies in the same row. Inflicted damage is also dependent on the attacking character, so Brook's attack is taken into consideration for the attack calculation. So this is something specific here. When you attack with a slasher, any unit in the same row of the enemy will be dealt a little bit of extra damage as well. So yeah, you can see there's a little bit of differences depending on what type of character you are attacking with, and this can really lead to some really cool techniques and different methods that you can do to clear certain pieces of content. Moving on to the striker one now, if you attack with a striker character, it will deal only half the damage you would normally do. However, it becomes an AoE attack. So when you attack with a striker, it will hit every single enemy on the opposing side of the field. But as we did mention, that you will be only dealing half of the attack that you normally deal. So that is a little bit of a drawback. But the fact that you are dealing AoE damage is quite substantial, especially for really difficult pieces of content, like specifically Raid Senor Pink, which came out relatively relatively recently. As you know, Raid Senior Pink has a whole bunch of AoE characters or a bunch of mobs around him, so you can use this type of technique to just deal with that, and you don't have to singularly attack every single enemy or bring specific units to deal AoE damage. You can go ahead and just attack regularly and you start dealing damage to the enemy. So this is a really cool ability that Franky has. When you're running a full striker team, you can start dealing AoE damage and killing lots of mob rooms relatively easily. And moving on to the last type of character, a shooter character. It will deal 0.75 times the normal character's attack to the targeted enemy, and all of the enemies around the targeted enemy will get 0.3 times damage. So this is very similar to the striker one, however you do deal more damage to the target and a little bit less damage to the AoE target. So yeah, this is something very, very important that you really need to take into consideration when you are building a Franky team, is the fact that each type of unit that you put on the team can have different abilities, and as we mentioned before, depending on what type of content you're facing as well, will also determine what kind of units you want to bring as well. So if there are lots of mobs around the enemies, you want to try and focus strikers and shooter characters so you can deal lots of damage to the mob units, so you don't really have to do as much manual auto targeting around different mob units to try and deal as much damage as you can. Make sure to just bring strikers and shooters and you can start dealing damage to them relatively easily. But if you are facing one enemy, you may want to focus mainly on fighters so you can deal a lot more damage to them. So yeah, it really does depend on the content that you're facing and the type of characters you have in your character box into the type of teams you want to be building with Legend Franky. So a little bit more information about the captain action here is that it will only go for one turn. So this is the big drawback on Franky, and personally why I don't like him that much is the fact that it is only a one-turn captain action, which means only for one turn you're getting 4 times attack, which is a pretty big drawback, as the rest of the time you're only a 3 times multiplier. So he isn't really that much better than a lot of the other legends in the game, but he is still a very, very powerful legend that you can use to clear certain pieces of content relatively easily. So after the docking ends for that one turn, you will not be able to use this captain action on that specific character for the next 4 turns. However, one thing to note here as well is that hypothetically, if you're running double Franky legend captains and you activate your specific captain action, that means you cannot use that specific Franky's captain action for the next 4 turns. If you did bring a friend Franky, you can use that same Franky in the following turn. So you can technically have multiple turns of this going, but you do have to rely on having a double Franky, and for the most part, double Franky isn't totally ideal. In a lot of situations, running Franky with a friend someone else is going to be a little bit more optimal to clear a lot more content, because with double Franky only having the 3 times multiplier and you're really restricted with what characters you can bring, it can be quite a struggle. However, his special ability does kind of help out his team a little bit with what he actually does, and we'll be going through that in a little bit. If you want to check the character's details in the docking form, you can click the little star icon next to General Franky, depending on what unit it actually is, and you can get some information. As you can see here, he wants to check out Luffy's stats, so he clicks where Luffy is on the star icon on the side, and you can see the information on Luffy. So this is all the in-game information regarding the General Franky's captain action. So now let's go ahead and finish off the video discussing his special ability. So finally, we're going to be talking about his special ability, which is going to start off at an initial 21 turns. It maxes at 16 turns, and when you actually get to limit break him, he gets an additional cooldown reduction, putting him to a 15-turn cooldown. And what it does, it will go ahead and cut all enemies' HP by 10%. It will go ahead and also randomize all non-matching orbs, including block orbs. That's pretty good in the fact that you can get rid of block orbs, and you can also get rid of any non-matching orb in order to just randomize it and potentially get a better chance of getting some more matching orbs. The thing that I really don't like about this specific ability, and a lot of characters have it, this is not just a Franky thing here, this is just a thing for a lot of characters, is when they randomize all your orbs, including non-matching orbs, so they keep your matching orbs. But the thing is if you have a special ability or a crewmate ability that allows certain orbs to be counted as beneficial, those do not count as matching orbs, so they will also get shuffled away, which I think it would be cool if there was a better distinction, or if there was maybe another special ability that randomizes all non-beneficial orbs or something like that. But still, it's still not a bad special ability in the fact that you can actually remove your block orbs on your crew as well, which is quite good. Not a lot of characters can remove those block orbs. However, he will go on to go ahead and boost the attack of fighters, slashers, shooters, and striker characters by 2 times for 1 turn. So this is great that he has a special ability that is his own crew's type booster, because that is one of the big things with Rainbow Captains, is Rainbow Captains are good because you get so much versatility in the characters that you can bring. However, the big thing is most of the time, when you have a Rainbow Captain, the thing with that and with the Rainbow team is the fact that it's really difficult to get a type booster for your crew, as a lot of the type boosters in this game are for certain colors or for certain classes. So not a lot of characters are just universal type boosters, and the fact that Franky himself is a 2 times attack booster for his own crew means that it's a lot easier to build better teams with him, as when he's your captain, he provides the 2 times attack boost, and if you are running in a certain situation where you have double Franky, you get 2 turns of a 2 times attack boost. So overall, very powerful legend, very fun legend. In my opinion, I'm not the biggest fan of Franky, but he's still a unique legend. He can still do a lot of things, very unique in what he does, allowing you to do AoE damage with single attacks. So it's really, really cool, the stuff that you can do with him. He's just not in that same realm as characters like Lucy, like Judge, and all those characters that are coming out recently, in my personal opinion. But either way, we don't really know when this Sugo Fest is coming out. Once it does come out, I'll be making a video discussing the Sugo Fest, about the raid ups and when you should pull, if you should pull at all, and stuff like that. So when the Sugo Fest gets announced, I'll be making a separate video on that. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure to smack the like button down below. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post on my channel, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.